Truth Speaks. It is provocative, it is thought-provoking, it is bold and embodies the very nature of both the human experience and the human condition.
All right, folks, welcome to the Truth Speaks podcast, where truth is shared through real conversations with real people. I'm your host, Dee Mosley, and we are broadcasting from YD Creative Studios. Joining us today is a phenomenal woman whom I well respect and just admire so much. But joining us today is the Serena Rudd.
Oh my goodness, not the
Serena Rudd is on the sofa, okay? And listen, before we get into having a great conversation with this wonderful woman, I am going to give you all a little bit of information by way of the bio that Serena sent to our producers. That is what we do. That is how we do it here. So we're going to dive into Serena's bio. Serena Rudd is a dynamic leader with over 15 years of experience in healthcare administration, mental health services, and program development. As the owner of Diverse Learners, she has spearheaded innovative pediatric literacy programs, expanded mental health outreach, and partnered with global agencies, including the Chinese Academy of Sciences in Korea and UNICEF. As the author of the book, Let's Deal With It, Becoming Emotionally Intelligent, Serena has helped individuals develop crucial emotional intelligence skills to thrive in today's fast-paced world. Her expertise in crisis management, program evaluation, and community engagement makes her a well sought after speaker, no less, on topics such as emotional intelligence, mental health, and women's health. Serena's passion for youth led her to perform the role as Pediatric Literacy Outreach Specialist for WellStar, where she leads community engagement initiatives and designs literacy programs for young children. Whether she is speaking to healthcare professionals, educators, or community leaders, Serena inspires audiences with practical insights and personal stories of transformation. She also co-pastors Power Chapel Ignite alongside her husband, Torrance Rudd, spreading the love of Christ to help transform lives for the better. Listen, let me tell you, this bio right here just tested every enunciation skill that I have. But I love it. Welcome.
I would have had a hard time with it as well.
Woo! I was.
It is fine because when I had to read my own bio, I'm like hooked on phonics worked for me.
Woo. But yeah, welcome to the sofa, Serena.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited about being here.
I'm excited that you're here with us. Listen, before we get started though, we want to make sure that the good people out there in broadcast world who will be watching us knows who our headline sponsor is, which is none other than Alfreda and the Voices of Hope. None of this would be possible without these good people right here. You can find them everywhere: iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere. So go get their music because they're making some things shake. All right, so here we go. So Serena, let's get into it. Let's start with your pediatric literacy. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about that. What does that look like, and where are you with that today?
Well, I started a pediatric literacy program overseas about 8 or 9 years ago. It first started with dealing with just Korean families, and then it went on to dealing with people in China, and then eventually Peru. And it just pretty much focuses on just building the brain through literacy. As you know, 80% of the child's brain is developed by the time they turn 3, and 90% by the time they turn 5. So we have to get those critical moments to build the brain so they can have long-term outcomes. So as I started building this program through Diverse Learners, I ended up having an opportunity through WellStar, through the pediatric program that they have, and just expanding it here locally instead of globally. And I've just loved every minute of it. It's just been amazing.
That is amazing, because I, for whatever reason, was thinking that the work that you and your husband do overseas was directly linked to Power Chapel and what you all do in ministry, I had no idea. That's why I wanted to start there,
Right.
because I had no idea of the work that you actually do. In alignment with the ministry, but also as an occupation and as a businesswoman.
Right, right.
So how long have you been doing that work, and when did you transition that to the States?
Like I said, I've been doing it for 8 to 9 years. Now I do ministry overseas as well. I train ministers in China, which is uncommon. Well, it's not accepted, I would say that more so, in China, because the gospel is underground. It's not free.
That just touched me right there, because you said two things. You said it's uncommon, and I just wonder how much we know that it is uncommon. That the gospel is underground over there. How does that look when you all go over there to do the work? What does that look like?
Well, for me, I'm able to just meet them online. And I train ministers and I teach. We do Bible studies, we do prayer. But the thing about it is, these people are willing to go to jail for the gospel. I mean,
Ooh.
they have no regrets, and they're willing to be punished just because of just learning who Christ is. And they'll share it in the streets, and even though they know the repercussions of it. And it encourages me, it excites me to make sure that I give them and present the gospel to them so that they can present it effectively to others.
And then there has got to be a passion in that
Oh,
someone, for you for them and for them for someone to say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I will be imprisoned. It's like it was for the disciples.
Right. And it is exactly like that. And they have a network that is absolutely amazing for all the different continents. They connect with all the continents, and they're teaching and doing missionary work. They even do missionary work right here in the United States. They see us as a mission field. So I find that even more interesting how they do everything. But it's very organized. Unlike a lot of different ministries we have, in America, we have multiple denominations, but there it's just the Bible.
Oh, we're going to hold that right there, and we're going to come back and pick up. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back. It's too late. Ooh, it is too late, my Lord. We're back. We were just talking about ministry and the work that Lady Serena does overseas. We're gonna pull back into the States a little bit, and we're gonna talk about what it looks like co-pastoring with your husband. Tell us a little bit about that. You're running a ministry, and it can definitely it can definitely come with its own challenges.
Right.
How different does that look for you all running a full-time ministry over here as opposed to ministry overseas? What are some of the challenges that you could talk about?
And overseas, the gospel is what it is. It's black and white. But here, when I bring the gospel to America, it's a lot more questioning, a lot more,
Goodness.
what about this? Or can I do this? Or can I do that? And it's a lot more compromise in America than it is in China. And
I'm so excited about this conversation. I feel like we're not on the Truth Speak sofa, and I want to just have church, but go ahead.
And so it's common because people like their ears tickled in America. They want the prophetic word. You're about to get the house. You're about to get your car.
That prosperity teaching.
Right. But overseas, they just care about salvation. That's just the bottom line of it. They just want their souls to be saved.
I'm about to pass out.
Their prophetic word is just that Jesus is coming back, and that's enough for them.
And that He is Lord.
That is it.
My goodness.
So it's completely different in the way that they receive the gospel. When they are in a setting, it's a much deeper awe of who God is.
So how do you navigate through that? How do you navigate, or how do you turn the, I hate to say it like this, but is there like a switch where you turn on what you need to do here as far as ministry is concerned, and how is there I guess the question that I'm asking, do you feel more free when you're able to minister the way that you're able to minister overseas?
I will say I do feel more free. The culture that we have at Power Chapel at Night is a culture of freedom, and
I like that.
and because of Power Chapel at Night, we are headquartered in Ghana, and so every year we have to go to Ghana for our missionary trips and for conferences, and so we take the culture that is there and bring it right here into Alabama, and it sets us free. The culture of Christ is all it is for us, and so I don't have to change who I am in Christ because of it.
It's so easy to talk to you, and I don't know if that is because of some of the experiences that you've had, and the studying that you've been doing by way of emotional intelligence, and how you landed there.
Right.
And I know that you've written a book about all of that, but let's talk about what began that journey for you. How did you get to this area of importance in emotional intelligence? Is there like a personal experience that we can talk about on the sofa right now?
Absolutely. I dealt with postpartum depression after I had my daughter, and it was very hard. And a lot of people tend to have this thing about suffering silent, like they think it's a badge of honor.
Badge of honor.
Because you just suffering silently, and that's just ignorant. That is just pure ignorance, because you'll be suffering silently, and no one, you think somebody's supposed to come and rescue you, and you're not even saying anything. And so as I went through that process and trying to balance, when you have postpartum, your hormones are all over the place, and it didn't stop there. When I started to started to ovulate and go through the luteal phase of periods and things, the hormones, of course, they go up and down. The estrogen, the progesterone, everything is just up and down. And I'm like, I have to figure out how to manage this, because when that time comes, I'm exhausted.
Fatigued, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not just I need to take a nap. No, you're fatigued. You're exhausted. You may have
Because the
swings.
normal woman
Right.
deals with the fatigueness of all of that, and to pour into that postpartum a very real condition that had to be, at a level that the regular woman can't even fathom.
Right.
And how long did you experience that? Well, and first of all, did you know at first? Obviously, you didn't understand
didn't
it.
understand
So
it.
what led you to saying, hey, what is this? This something is not right.
I remember one day I just was had the baby, and Torrance was in the house, and I went outside. I'm like, something is just not right. I just don't want to even feel like I want to be here anymore. I have no motivation. I have my children. I love my children, but I felt like I didn't connect with my newborn baby. I'm like, this is not right. Something is not right in this. This is not normal. And I prayed to God, and I cried out to God, like, God, you got to help me with this, because if I don't, I'm going to lose my mind. And I went through it for 6 months.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is not it. I didn't want to get out the bed. And my child, the child that I had, she had colic. So she's crying all the time. And I'm like, I felt resentful.
So there was you had children, you all had a child prior to experiencing this.
So this is my third child.
Your third baby. So you not immediately, but you felt a way about your newborn that you
Right.
didn't feel for your
Other
two
children.
other children.
And I'm like, I just didn't have the motivation. I was exhausted. And I'm like, something's not right with this. And people, the traditional thing when you go to your pastors or anything, they say, just pray about it.
That's hard. That's hard because and not that we don't love our pastors, and we're leaders as well, but it's difficult to speak to that when we don't have the training and the education. So all we know to do and say is pray about it, right?
Right.
Hold that thought. We're going to go to break, and we're going to pick back up from there.
Okay.
We'll be right back. All right, and we're back, and we were just diving into emotional intelligence, and Lady Serena dealing with with postpartum depression. But before we get back into the conversation, we definitely want to thank our headline sponsor, Alfreda and the Voices of Hope, for all that they do for Truth Speaks. All right, so let's continue that conversation, and then we want to get into talking about your book. But I don't want to leave this, because so many people need to understand what you went through, because they may be going through the same thing that you experienced and have no idea.
Right.
They just may think that they're a bad mom.
Right. And that's definitely not the case. It's just that you're uninformed. You don't, you're not emotionally aware of what's going on. You don't know how to read your body.
And you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that's good too that you said that, because as women, we think, I guess we assume that we're just supposed to know what's going on with our bodies, but our bodies go through so much, through so many different phases. Like,
Right.
I'm in my 50s now, and I am going through so many different phases and changes in my body
Right.
that I'm trying to figure out, on top of health issues. So yeah, just continue, because people need to be aware. Somebody out there may feel like you felt in that moment. So continue, just talk about your feelings and how you all got to a place of, you need to go get help.
Right. I've gotten to a moment of despair. And then the crazy thing is, I have a mental health background, but I learned everything through textbook. But
Oh, textbook is
yeah.
so different from
it is
real life.
absolutely
Ooh.
different, and then, and it's not by the book. When you're going through the emotions, there's nothing else. There's nothing really by the book.
That can prepare you.
There's nothing that can actually completely prepare you for suffering in your mind and suffering in your body, because it wasn't just mental that I was dealing with. My body was going through changes. My hormones was affecting me, and so I couldn't tell if I was coming or going. And eventually I got help, and of course my mom, she's a therapist, and so I was able to get more help. But along the way through that process, my hormones still had issues. Like, even months later and years later, I was still having hormonals up and down.
I can imagine. Wow.
And so people don't understand, when you give birth to a child, everything in your body is out of whack.
For a long time. I mean, you don't just bounce back.
No, you do not just bounce back. And if you already have any other underlying issues, like if you have a history of ADHD or things, every time you have a period, you're going to probably go through some type of suffering.
Absolutely. Everything goes into its own flair.
Right.
We women have such, should we blame Eve? I think Eve did this. Eve, girl, we're going to have a conversation one of these days.
Yeah, Eve can get the hands.
She can. Eve, we coming for you, girl. We love you, girl, but we coming for you. So in saying that, how did that look for you in your faith? And in how you navigated life, not just as a mom and a wife, but in your ministry as a leader, in your occupation. How did you navigate? Because I know some folks use the word functional in either whatever health issue that you're dealing with, but especially with mental health. I know my husband and I, when we talk about different things, we use the phrase functioning.
Depression.
Yeah.
So functional depression is not really functional. It's just you putting on a mask and hoping you deceive everyone else except yourself.
Accept yourself.
And so you're not,
because
functional.
Everybody else can see it.
Right.
They just don't know what to say and how
Right.
to approach you
Right.
about it. Because I'm sure Pastor Torrance, your husband, I'm sure at some point before you all sought help, he was probably like, I don't know what to do.
Right. Right. And he is the most amazing husband that there is. He's always been very supportive of everything. And I have done several different programs and things, but he's always been supportive of everything. And so he's praying, he's fasting, and he has experience in mental health as well. He has a background in mental health as well. So he's able to just be very compassionate with me in the process. And once by the time I was able to get the help that I need, talk with my doctors and things, everything was able to smooth out. But it was very hard going forward because, like I said, every time I would, right before like PMS period, it would be very hard. I would go through the emotions all over again, the fatigue, the exhaustion, the mood swings. It was just very bad for a long time.
And in figuring all of that out, what was the time frame of being in that and you know, not knowing this is what this is and finding the balance in that. What did that time frame look like for you?
From when I had the baby to probably 6 months down the line, I'm like, something's not right, and let's get help. Let's get help,
Right.
because there's no need for me to suffer silently.
And your family.
Right. And so I was doing a disservice not only to myself, but everyone that loved me
Around you.
because they saw me spiraling. They saw me up and down. You know, they saw me just having a hard time getting out of the bed, and it was just something that they didn't want for me to go through. So I knew something had to be done.
So what would you say to somebody who may feel like they're in a place where you were? What would you tell them that the first steps that they need to do to find resolve and to understand what they're going through?
Take the mask off.
Take
I
the mask
always
off.
tell people one of our biggest enemies is that phrase, "I'm fine." It's a lie. It's an enemy, because sometimes you could be suffering and you just like,
That hit me there.
I'm fine. Like, how you doing today? I'm fine.
And that's our go-to.
right.
That's when somebody says, "How are you?" I'm good. I'm fine.
And you could be going through all sorts of chaos in your body, in your mind, in your family, in your finances,
In your
and you
heart.
and you just say, I'm fine.
How did you deal with that? With you said take the mask off. I don't want to go. I want to go into a couple of more things that folks need to do, and then we'll go further from there. But I just want to keep talking to this wonderful woman. But we're not gonna do a part two. We're gonna keep it at one session, one
Right.
episode.
Right.
So taking the mask off.
Right. And so take the mask off and being real and transparent with yourself and those who love you. Because sometimes you can tend to take all your emotions out on the closest people that are next to you. So being real, and then go to therapy. Jesus and
Right.
therapy. Let's do it.
Jesus and therapy. We have got to learn that it is okay to say, first of all, like you said, take the mask off and to sit down and talk to somebody, because sometimes the folks that are closest to us, they're going to be biased. So they're not going to tell us what we need to hear most of the time. And two, they're not trained to help us identify
Right.
with what we have going on in order to help. I am having such a great time talking to this woman. Miss Serena is amazing, but we're going to take one more break and then thank our sponsors. We'll be right back. It's too late. And we're back, and we've been enjoying talking to Lady Serena Rudd. I know that we're on the sofa with Truth Speaks, but I can't help but when I see her, she's so graceful. Not just because she's Pastor Rudd, but when I see her, I just want to say Lady Serena, Lady Rudd, because she's so graceful. And despite all that she's been through, and even in that, there's just a grace over you. And that's a testament to the God that you serve.
Absolutely.
So how did you get to the place where, we want to talk about your book too,
Right.
of understanding what emotional intelligence is.
Right.
I almost want to say that is a part of your purpose and your call.
Absolutely.
To be able to speak to that for people.
Right.
It's a part of your grace. So let's talk a little bit about your book. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the whole thing is, a lot of people don't understand.
I see you have it over there.
Absolutely.
Let's see what that looks like. We want to make sure the folks know what Let's Deal With It by Serena Rudd. We want to definitely, there we go. And we see it. Let's deal with it. So let's deal with it. Let's talk about it.
A lot of people think when it comes to emotions that if there's a bad emotion, you just throw it out the bat. No, and that's the last thing you want to do is just suppress your emotions. You want to process your emotions. A lot of people are suppressing their emotions, and then at a trigger, everything just comes
Right,
up.
explode.
And so if you are able to understand and identify your emotions, you can be able to process and navigate them a little bit better so that you can be able to express yourself in a healthy way.
Right, because processing your emotions doesn't mean just throwing them out there.
Right.
Like, I don't want to
vomit on
Right,
people.
right. Because a lot of us do.
Right. There are a lot of people
I'm guilty.
who dump their emotions onto other people without even asking, are you equipped to even handle this?
Exactly
They
right.
go, let me call and tell you what, blah, 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 blah. And then they just vomit.
Like,
They
yeah, I'm gonna
emotionally
get you
vomit.
all the way together. Like most of us, I won't say most of us, but some of us is like, I'm gonna get you together.
Right.
That's not
Right.
using our emotional intelligence.
Right, but we weren't really taught. Well, I know I wasn't taught growing up
No, we
about
weren't.
emotional intelligence
Right.
or EQ. You know, we were just taught just deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the whole reason why I said, well, let's deal with it. The name of my
Right,
book is Let's
right,
Deal with It.
right.
Because if we don't
I like
deal
that
with
title
it,
too.
right, if we don't deal with the issues that we're having, we're going to hurt the people that we love the most.
And we do that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could just get to a place of understanding and, like you said, processing our emotions intelligently,
Right.
we would avoid hurting and abusing a lot of our relationships.
Right. A lot of people tend to think that there's like just a few emotions. You're mad, you're happy, you're sad. But no, let's dive deeper into mad. Are you mad, or is your ego hurt? Are you mad, or are you disappointed? You know, people don't know how to say, well, I'm not really mad, I'm just really disappointed, or what this person said actually hurt me. And are you mature enough to actually go to that person to let them know that they hurt you?
That's
or,
good, because most of the time we're not.
Right. Or even if you can't go to that person, are you mature enough to even establish a
And,
boundary?
and that too, maturity plays a lot into that. And ego, right?
Right. Absolutely.
We know a lot about ego, but we don't know how to process, like you said in your book. So talk to us a little bit about what you tell us and teach us in Let's Deal with It.
One of the biggest things I deal with is the intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are these thoughts that just constantly bombard your mind, and they're never positive.
And they don't ever stop, really.
They never really stop. And then the Bible always talk about casting down vain imaginations.
That's why he tells us to do that.
Right, right. And so, but a lot of people don't know how to even cast down vain
Child.
imaginations. They just play these roles in their brain that never happened, these scenarios in their brain. And I call them, you end up winning an Oscar because you just as dramatic as you want
I
to
love
be.
it. Exactly. And we are. We can play the dramatics.
Right. It can go from somebody who rolled their eyes at you in a grocery store
And we'll take it there.
Right.
And be on the phone with our girls and just be analyzing. And this person ain't even thought about you.
have no idea. They probably didn't even see you.
Right, exactly.
They probably just tired. They rolling their eyes because they exhausted. They
And they going through
some biscuits.
Absolutely. They trying to get to the biscuit freezer to get their Pillsbury biscuits.
Right. And so people are just unaware. And it's emotional intelligence is not just being emotionally intelligent about yourself, but being actually emotionally intelligent about other people too. Like people understand that people go through things as
Right,
well.
right.
Well, it's like, you didn't call and check on me.
Well, what about, I had a million and gazillion things going on,
Right. Right.
Never mind my kid broke their leg and all that stuff.
Right. And so we have to just understand that we all have emotions. We're all humans. We all go through things. And we are not isolated. We try to isolate and think, woe is me when we go through things.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
everybody's going through
Everybody.
things. And so that's why it's always key to be kind to everyone, regardless whether you like their religious beliefs, their color,
There you go.
preferences. Just be kind to everyone.
That part.
And some of the things I deal with, like the intrusive thoughts that come, how to actually process those thoughts. Put them in categories. Is this me thinking, or is this a demonic force that's even?
And that's a very real thing.
Mm-hmm.
We need to learn, especially if we profess to be saved.
Right.
We need to learn what all that looks like and really function in what God tells us to do.
Right.
And learn how to do that. And your book deals with that. And that's another thing that we're really great at saying that we want to do things, but we don't necessarily want to take the steps to learn how to do those things.
Right. And so my book offers questions that people can ask themselves, and they have to be really honest and transparent. Like one of the biggest questions I remember asking in the book is, what is your greatest strength? And immediately the people who I've talked to, they just start crying. They feel like they don't even have any strength. They don't know what they're good at. They don't know who they are, and they're going through an identity crisis of what God has called them to be and who they want to be. And so what they do is they've been people pleasing all their life.
That's what I was about to say. Do you think we deal with the way that we function through life and the way that we process is a lot of dramatics, a lot of mimicking, a lot of people pleasing just because we don't know.
Right. And so people pleasing is just you just being you're camouflaging yourself, trying to want other people to accept you. But when will you get to the point where you want to accept who you are?
And really learn your authentic self.
And it is a lot of times we're encountering people every day who don't know who they are, and they're feeling some type of way about us, but really it's their own internal issues.
And their own insecurities, and
Right.
not really knowing
Right.
who they are. And that's why I love that you took the time to write this book. Because we really need to get to a place where we understand the importance of learning,
Right.
so that we can be better.
Right. And unfortunately, a lot of people think, oh, it's not needed, it's not necessary. I know who I am and things like that. But then when a situation arises,
That's what I was about to say. Until you don't, or until the rug gets pulled out from underneath you, or until everything around you absolutely implodes or explodes,
Right.
and then you're in crisis mode,
Right.
trying to figure it out.
And because of that, come to find out, a lot of people don't know their triggers. And so because of that, they're always going off on every little thing. And if they ever took the time to say, this issue triggered me, or this person triggered me because blah, 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 go back to the root of where this come from. Were you abused? Were you raped? Were you neglected?
That's good.
You know,
and how do you deal with that?
and
Right.
have you even dealt with it?
Have you dealt with
Most
it?
people haven't even dealt with it. They just sweep it on the
Right,
rug.
right.
And so they emotionally vomit on other people because of it.
And so that goes back to therapy. Listen, I just got all off of these questions. This has been so great. Thank you so much for coming to sit on the sofa.
Thank you for allowing me to come.
This has been amazing. I could sit and talk to you all day.
I know.
But we're not going to do a part two.
Nope.
We're not going to do a part two. Is there anything that you would like to offer us in by way of encouragement, inspiration? Of course, listen, get the book. Get the book. But is there anything else that you would like to add to what we've talked about today?
Get a foundation in Christ. Really, because the Bible says that He's the peace that surpasses all understanding. A lot of times, if you actually read the Bible, it's a book of therapy to me.
Say that there. That camera's looking at you.
The Bible is a book of therapy. You can get help
That's good.
through the Bible, through the Word. It talks about intrusive thoughts. It talks about having the mind of Christ. It's talking about these emotions and self-control, which is a fruit of the Spirit. You know, and so if we don't get that foundation, we're gonna fail every time.
This has been amazing, y'all. I'm telling you, she's such an inspiration. I know I keep saying it. I feel like I'm just gonna get her autograph after we wrap, because I know y'all like, why are you gushing all up? She's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, this has been Truth Speaks. Talk to y'all later.